Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. A lot of Florida Gators football to talk about the last couple days, but we got some good news for Florida on the recruiting trail as four-star tight end Amir Jackson has committed to the Gators. This dude, a big body, a very good basketball player as well. And when we check out the film, you're going to see the body control and that basketball player in him. He's a guy that is going to be an offensive weapon. Moves extremely well for someone who's 6'5", a very good get for Florida that I think are going to be able to use him in a multiple variety of different ways. Now, before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys. Again, with Austin Simmons saga, we talked a lot about that. You guys have been absolutely awesome with all the support. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Anytime I get a chance to talk some Florida Gators football, certainly going to do so. Excuse me. And Amir Jackson, certainly worth talking about. I think Billy Napier is getting, and I've been like kind of on record with my support of Billy Napier. I think he's putting together a really, really good 2024 class. I know it's been tough with Austin Simmons, Chauncey Bowens flips to Georgia, but still, like the bones of this class is still strong, and they're in it with a lot of talented guys from across the country. I think come December, we're going to be talking about a very, very good class for the Florida Gators in 2024. I want to take a look at what Amir Jackson is going to bring to this team, though, because, again, it is one of the – like I always try to just check out some film and familiarize with myself with some of these prospects before we talk about them. And, man, Amir Jackson's film is extremely fun to watch. What's really impressive is his movement skills combined with the size. So he's very good after the catch. Again, very big body, very hard to bring down. He's a smooth mover for someone who's 6'5". I think he probably gets that from the bat. He is very good on the hardwood as well. But what's more impressive, he plays a lot of defense too, but what you're going to see is when the ball's in the air, there's not many better dudes at the catch point than Amir Jackson. Here you see the speed. I mean, coming down, playing safety at 220 pounds, that's impressive. Here you got him double covered. Like everyone knows it's going to Amir Jackson here. Quarterback throws it up, says, hey, Amir Jackson, go get a rebound here, makes it happen. When you have a guy like that who has, and you're going to see it again here, but when you have a guy that is going to be able to go up above the rim when those throwing windows get tight and make plays, I think that's massive. And then you see him after the catch as well. He's kind of the complete tight end, listed as an athlete. I mean, that's how I would describe him. He's a playmaker that I think you can put on some weight and line him up in line and have him block. But where this dude excels is in the red zone when that football's in the air, because 9 times out of 10, he's coming down with it. And it doesn't even matter that most people know where the ball's going. They're still going to throw it up to him. And he's very, very comfortable adjusting to that football. Again, probably coming from basketball. Now, I love when recruits are able to come from that basketball background because they just know how to go up and approach a football. Taking a look at this 2024 class, again, it's taken some hits. I feel like Florida has lost a few in the last couple of days recruiting battles, but still a top 16 class with 10 commits. But the bones of this class is still intact, right? You have your quarterback of the future in DJ Lagway. Xavier Filsaime is a dude that I think he's going to be a first-round draft pick in terms of like a safety that can do a lot of different things. He's going to be really special. Miles Graham and Darius Hayes, 2 really good guys. And you add Amir Jackson, who the pass catcher position, as we get this ad out of here, the pass catcher position in general has kind of been a sore spot from Florida since guys like Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney. And there's a couple ways you can approach it, right? You can go get some wide receivers, and we've talked about guys like Aiden Mazzell, Eugene Wilson, Andy Jean, who I think a lot of Gator fans feel really good about what they're going to be able to bring to this offense. But the tight end position, and Florida fans know this, with having had a Kyle Pitts, you can get some serious productivity out of that tight end spot too. And Amir Jackson seems like a guy that is going to be someone who maybe you have the speed with guys like Andy Jean, Aiden Mazzell, Eugene Wilson, all flyers, Isaiah Williams as well. But now you have somebody that when you get in the red zone and those throwing windows get a little bit tight, a guy like Amir Jackson can help score touchdowns. And that's something that I feel like gets so overlooked. And as a Michigan fan, Michigan lost games last year because they could not score in the red zone. And so, yes, moving the ball between the 20s is important, but when you get inside the 20, you have to be able to put 7 on the board. And a guy like Amir Jackson is going to help in a big, big way when it comes to that. Now, taking a look at what this Florida class could be, right? Sitting at a top 20 spot, I think it could be special. And I go back to that Friday, June 2nd visit weekend where we recapped it, right? There are still a lot of very talented prospects on the board for Florida. I do want to talk about the tackles that you guys took. I'm a fan. Like, this tackle class in 2024 is so weak. When you have an opportunity to get bodies, just bodies, they might not be ready year one or year two, but bodies who can be all conference, all SEC type tackles, I'm a fan of that. I saw a lot of Florida fans being upset with the recruit ranking of some of those tackles they took. Man, you can't teach that kind of size. So I'm actually not as down about those tackle takes, especially when you read about how down coaching staffs are about this 2024 class when it comes to that offensive tackle position. Now, how this Florida class in 2022, I think, becomes special is you land some of those guys who are on campus that weekend, right? Jeremiah Smith, we've talked about a lot. Flip watch, we'll see. We've talked about that a lot. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens there. But a guy like David Stone's been on campus a lot. I think Florida and Miami and Oklahoma certainly in the running for that. Jordan Ross is another interesting guy to take a look at. But these are the two guys that I want to talk about. LJ McCray, who I think Florida has a serious shot from in Daytona Beach. A guy that at the end, when we're talking in December, I think he's going to be a dude that is a top 50 national prospect. And then Jonathan Eccles, the Tennessee commit who's taken visits to Florida. He's from IMG. You know that pipeline exists. He's another guy that I really do think could wind up signing for Florida, even though he's in this Tennessee class. You've seen a lot of flip commitments. Florida's already had two guys who flipped out of the 2024 class. I get there are some concerns, and it never feels good when you lose some of those big recruiting battles, like Chauncey Bowens getting flipped to Georgia, obviously Austin Simmons going to Ole Miss. But for Florida Gator fans, I still do think that this 2024 class has a lot to offer. And one of the things that they'll be able to offer a guy like Jeremiah Smith, a guy like LJ McCray or David Stone is early playing time. And that's something that a lot of these other top programs can't really offer. Like, Florida came in with that roster when Billy Napier took over. And it wasn't that great of a roster. And so all over the field, there is early, and you're going to see it in 2023. You're going to see a lot of true freshmen play, and I think you're going to see a lot of those kids from the 2022 class play a lot of football. I think one thing Billy Napier can certainly sell to these top commits is, we're rebuilding a little bit here, and you guys can be part of where we get Gainesville back to kind of competing for SEC titles, competing for national titles. But that early playing time, when you're going up against Georgia, Alabama for these top commits, selling early playing time could be a differentiator. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's case, Ohio State just brought in a ton of guys in that 2023 class at the wide receiver position. They're loaded. As good as Jeremiah Smith might be, keep in mind Marvin Harrison Jr. was a guy that didn't really play his freshman year. What can Florida say? Jeremiah Smith, if you come to Florida, you are playing early and you are playing often for this team. I think you can say the same thing for David Stone. I think you can say the same thing for a guy like LJ McCray. That could be something where Florida, when it talks about flipping some of these commitments, winning some of these five-star recruiting battles, you're offering these kids. You saw Bear Alexander transfer from Georgia because he wasn't going to play enough at Georgia. And so I really do think that's a really optimistic lens and kind of some leverage that Florida has that some of these other programs that are going after these commits don't really have. And so for Florida fans, I get it's been a couple tough weeks on the recruiting trail. I do think when we get late into this 2024 cycle, we're going to be talking about a really, really good class for the Florida Gators. Wanted to hop on, at least talk about some sort of optimism for the Florida Gators on the recruiting trail. So appreciate you guys for checking the fellas out. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Again, we appreciate all the love, the support you guys have shown, and we'll talk to y'all later.